All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, you can go ahead and put me in the category of being somewhat surprised, but all star first baseman Vladimir Guerrero Jr. will be staying north of the border for more than likely his entire MLB career. Today, Vlad Jr. and the Blue Jays agreed on a 14-year extension for $500 million as the only deals that are higher than Vlad's deal with the Jays are the recent deals by Juan Soto with the New York Mets, and of course, what we saw Shohei Ohtani get from the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'm not shocked about the money or the amount of years that Vlad Jr. just got. But what is shocking to me is that this deal got done now. And the only reason I'm saying that is we saw Vlad Jr. and the Jays failed to reach an extension before the start of spring training. And typically, when you hear that, the player is like, you know what? I want to play the year out and I want to see what happens, which is code for, you know what? I want to go out there and ball out, have myself a big year, get the free agency, and let a bidding war take place. But that was not the case this time around. You look at it, the Jays basically gave Vlad Jr. or made Vlad Jr. an offer that he couldn't refuse. And I know that some people out there might think that, well, Vlad could have gotten more money. I don't think Vlad Jr. was going to get Juan Soto money, but at the end of the day, $500 million is still $500 million any way that you go out there and slice it. And at the end of the day, in my opinion, this deal is a win for the Blue Jays. It's a win for Vlad Jr., the city of Toronto, and Major League Baseball as a whole. I say this because it is so important for the Blue Jays to be able to keep one of their very own and not see him leave town in free agency. It's huge for this organization. It's big for this fan base as well. Okay. And being that Vladdy was still under contract with Toronto meant that them going out there and negotiating with his camp, they were only bidding against themselves at the present day. But they still had to come correct with their offer to him, and clearly they did. Okay, the Blue Jays, to their credit, in recent years, we have seen them try and try to go out there and be serious about their pursuits about players. Sometimes it's worked out, sometimes it hasn't. We saw Toronto a couple of years ago give George Springer a big deal. This past offseason, it was Anthony Santander getting him to come over from the Baltimore Orioles. Toronto is dead serious, okay, in their pursuit of Shohei Ohtani. Didn't work out. Of course, he went to the Dodgers. They were serious in their pursuit of Juan Soto as well. Didn't work out as he went to the Mets. But now you're seeing the fruits of their labor, if you will, as they were able to keep Vlad Jr. This is a big deal, okay, from the standpoint that you didn't let him get to free agency. You gave him a mega contract and you're showing, hey, we're committed to doing something here as you keep one of the game's best hitters in your lineup. For me, it's also big for the city of Toronto. We're talking about the only Canadian city that has an MLB franchise. And at the end of the day, you simply don't want to be an afterthought if you are Toronto, and they are not. Okay. Also, this deal is big for Major League Baseball, in my opinion. Why? Because in recent years in free agency, it's been, the big time contracts for the most part. It's been the Mets, it's been the Dodgers, it's been the New York Yankees. Now you're getting some of these other bigger market teams involved, okay, in these deals. And I think that's big because you don't want it to be a situation where every single time somebody hits free agency, well, They're going to go to the Mets. They're going to go to the Dodgers. They're going to go to the Yankees. Let's spread the love around. Okay. So I think, in my opinion, this is big for Major League Baseball as a whole. You don't want to feel slanted, if you will, from that aspect. And now, if you're Vladdy, you've got the opportunity in front of you to go out there and rewrite a lot of the offensive record books for this Blue Jays franchise. As I'm not saying that he's going to play his entire career in Toronto, but a bulk of that is going to be there. Talking about a guy who's 26 years of age, he's going to be there for many years to come. And like I said, it's important for Toronto to have one of their own homegrown guys who came up with this organization. Was born in Montreal when his dad, Vladimir Sr., played for the Expos. Okay, so now he has an opportunity to become one of the better players in the history of this franchise. And at the end of the day, today's deal was not just about Vlad Jr. This deal, in my opinion, was also big for New York Mets first baseman Pete Alonso. Why? Because we saw Pete go into free agency last offseason, did not get the mega deal that he and his agent Scott Boras were hoping for. Talked to a team like the Toronto Blue Jays, didn't work out there. Came back to the Mets in spring training, got a 2-year deal for 54 million. He's getting 30 million this year. Okay, and he has an opt out after this season. Okay, so I said it when Pete got his deal that he was definitely more than likely going to opt out, as he was going to seek a multi-year deal. And of course, there was speculation that the Mets didn't want to commit, and it's only speculation, okay, that they didn't want to commit to Pete Alonso long term, as they were possibly looking at Vlad Jr. as a replacement for him at first base, a younger guy who typically tends to hit for more, have a better average though. But nonetheless, if you're Pete Alonso, you've already gotten off to a solid start this season. And even though it's the early stages of the season, Pete Alonso looks like he could potentially have the season that many people were expecting him to have last year in his walk year. But nonetheless, Pete Alonso just got himself some leverage. And I think if you're the Mets, maybe you try to go out there and give Pete, the multi-year deal that he is potentially seeking before the end of this season. He's not going to get himself a 14-year, $500 million deal. That much I can guarantee. He's on pace to become the Mets all-time leader, in career home runs. And I think it's one of those situations. If you're Mets team owner Steve Cohen, you want him there long term. The fans want him. The city loves him, and you just want to go out there and make things work. And I think right now this definitely speeds things up as far as Alonso getting a multi-year deal to stay with the Mets. But the big question right now, as this is all about Vlad Jr. today, and will MLB's newest $500 million man live up to the hype for his deal? We just got to wait and see on that. But nonetheless, father can now ask a son for a loan, if you will, because Vlad Jr. just got more money in one stroke of the pen than his Hall of Fame dad did for his entire career. And it's not to say that Vlad Jr. did not get big deals. So go back and look at that contract that he received to leave Montreal and go play for the Angels. But nonetheless, you look at this and what's next for Vladdy and the Jays. I think if you're Vlad, you want to go out there and have yourself a solid season. You want to put it together consistently. He did not have a good 2023, only hit 264, came back and hit 323 last year with 30 home runs, 103 runs batted in, 199 hits, which was a career high, and he finished sixth in the MVP voting. He's gotten off to a somewhat slow start so far this season. Again, very early on. Okay, he's only hitting 256, no home runs, 333 on base percentage. Vlad Jr. will get it going. And of course, with Vlad Jr. in tow for Toronto for the coming years, one has to wonder if Bo Bichette is going to be next. This is a guy who, like Vlad, was set to hit free agency this coming off season. And you just have to wonder if the Jays are going to try to take care of him and keep Vladdy and Bo Bichette in Toronto for the coming years. Big time deal that Toronto got done, but also this group has to find a way to get it done in the postseason. And I say that because the Jays were arguably the most disappointing team in Major League Baseball last year. They had made the playoffs in each of the last 2 years, three out of the last previous 4 years. They had a winning record in all four of those years, and the Jays were once again expected to be a playoff team in 2024, but they had 88 losses, okay, and they were last in the American League East. So, of course, Toronto, they came into today licking their wounds after they were swept over the weekend, courtesy of the New York Mets. But nonetheless, I do expect this team to be in contention for a playoff spot. But playoff spot alone aside, okay, it's one of those where the folks in Toronto, want to see this team take that next step. Why? Because the Jays have not won a playoff series since 2016. Their last three trips to the postseason, they were one and done. And in each of those series, Toronto was swept. Okay, they were swept by Tampa in 2020, and everybody figured, young team, they're turning the corner. Can they take that next step? They won 91 games in 2021, finished one game short of the postseason. They were swept in 2022 in the wild card round by Seattle, and then they were swept in 2023 in the wild card round, courtesy of Minnesota. Two teams themselves that had longtime playoff droughts. So if you're this young Jays core, now we really can't call it a young Jays core anymore. Can they find a way to take that next step, live up to the hype during the regular season, and deliver during the postseason? We just simply have to wait and see. But nonetheless, if you're Toronto, you had to get this deal done. Why? Because I guarantee you, they just paid him $500 million. If they had flirted with allowing Vlad Jr. to reach free agency, you get yourself into a potential bidding war. 500 million can easily turn into 550, $600 million. Okay, so and who's to say, if Vlad didn't go out there and really ball out this year, how much that asking price was going to go up for. But nonetheless, like I said before, $500 million is not a small chunk of change. Okay, and the Blue Jays have shown the commitment to Vlad. Hopefully, this will be a successful baseball marriage between player and team for the coming years. But nonetheless, all of the talk about Vlad Jr. possibly being the biggest sought after free agent next winter has now been officially put to bed. Those Guerrero Blue Jays jerseys won't be a collector's item or a throwback, if you will, because Vlad Jr. is going to be in Toronto for a long time. He's going to get plenty of jersey sales, plenty of merch sales, and the fans are definitely going to come out and show their support for him. But nonetheless, Vladdy is a J for now and the coming years, and let's see if Toronto will continue to be able to build around number 27. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to like this page, to like this podcast rather, and subscribe to this channel. Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365, and you can check it out. Drop a line to be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. NY Sports, what's going on, man? Definitely appreciate you, chiming in and checking this one out. And definitely, as always, appreciate your support on all of these podcast adventures. And once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.